Hey there, Alan Matthews here from Classical Guitar Shed, and in this video I've got 8 performance tips for you, ways that when you are going and playing in front of people, even if it's just 1 or 2 people, then you can preserve your confidence and you can just use these things to set yourself up so that it'll just be a better show altogether. We'll do that in a sec. So performing can be a little bit nerve-wracking at times. We've been practicing our music, we know the music, that's not what this is about. This particular video, these tips are other things that you can do to set yourself up to maintain and preserve your confidence, to eliminate the chance that things will go funny and distract you, and it'll just set you up for success and a better show. Number 1 is every sound you make on a stage is part of the performance. I learned this in school when I was studying percussion. Stick clicks. In percussion, we had to try not to click the sticks because every sound is part of the performance. So whenever you sat the sticks down on the music stand, you didn't want them to click because that was a particular sound. Same thing here. Then any kind of shuffling around, any kind of noodling around, you know, this kind of stuff between songs, playing a couple of chords, this kind of stuff in between songs, all that's part of the show. So keep it quiet, keep the focus on your music, and eliminate a lot of the extraneous sounds. The foot tapping, everything is part of the show. So make sure that every sound that you're making is intentional, and you want that to be part of the musical experience. If it's not, then you're just making sound. Number 2, this kind of goes to that one as well. When you tune quickly and quietly, and ideally, if you can, tune before you get on to the stage, beforehand, and then if you want to check your tuning, then just do it quietly and do it quickly. And after you tune, don't play a bunch of big chords like you might whenever you're doing it at home. So practice tuning quickly and quietly. The next one, number 3, is a big one. Plan your logistics so that you don't fumble. With classical guitarists, we sometimes use a footstool. So one of the things with classical guitar is that you want to, if the footstool is already on the stage, you don't want to step over it because that increases the chances that you'll knock it over and have to deal with it. So instead you walk around the chair so that you just eliminate the possibility that you're going to knock that footstool over by stepping over it. Same thing if you have music in your hands and a guitar, then plan, how am I going to deal with these things? It might be that you put your music on the stand before you sit down, then you sit down, put your guitar like this, and then deal with your music. So that you figure out how exactly you're going to deal with everything that needs to happen so that you don't find yourself in an awkward position. I once saw a buddy of mine who was an upright bass player doing a recital, and somehow or another he ended up about 3 feet away from a music stand, holding the bow in between his legs, balancing the instrument and trying to deal with his music, and it was really awkward and it shook his confidence, and then he has to deal with that. And people just see you in an awkward position, which is awkward for other people as well. So ideally, if you have things to deal with, then figure out how you're going to deal with them. If you got music, if you got a music stand, if you have to tote stuff, where do you open your case and do it? Do you do it off the stage, or do you take your case up onto the stage and then open it and do it? And then are you sticking your butt towards the audience? So all of those things, figure all that out beforehand, and then your confidence will be more actually at the time of performance. Number 4, be friendly. People want to like you. They just want to hear some great music, and they just want to see you play. They want to see you succeed, and so be friendly. Even though you might be nervous, don't make terrible faces at them. And the same thing, which this leads into number 5, is keep a poker face. Don't show your mistakes. People don't care about your mistakes. They'll forgive you the mistakes if they like you, and they know that, mistakes happen. You're doing your best up there. You're not trying to make mistakes. But if you're making pained expressions and or hedging, that could have done that one better, or whatever, it sounded better in the practice room. If you're talking about these things, if you're hedging or making these expressions, then it brings attention to that, and it makes that the point of the performance. And so it basically says, I think I've failed, which is then the cue for the audience to also think you failed. Instead of you play your pretty song and people say that was great. And yes, there were some flubbed notes in there or something, but that's okay because the overall performance was good. So keep a poker face, be friendly. Number 6, plan your talking in front of time instead of babbling. So if it's an important thing to you, if you care and you're going to introduce your pieces, ideally write out exactly what would be nice to say beforehand, read it a few times, and then you can just forget about it. You've done your preparation, and then you can just go out there and talk. But it's not fun to see people babble or get off on tangents, get themselves into it's a bummer to see people babble on stage and just talk longer than they need to, which is another feedback I get on these videos, but what can you do, right? Number 7, look up and smile when people clap. So after you finished a tune, acknowledge that the tune is finished and people are clapping for you. And so look at them and smile for a second, and then go to your tuning or whatever, instead of just ending and then immediately doing your stuff or turning your page and acting like they're not even there. This comes into just letting people have a good time watching you as well. You're trying to get people to be comfortable. That's one of the points of performance is, I want to play this music, but you've got to be comfortable to be receptive to this music. So part of my job as a performer is to make the listener comfortable, and yours as a performer is to make people comfortable. And that includes smiling and looking up and saying thank you when they clap for you. Not during a song, keep your focus then, but in between songs, if they do it, then smile and say thanks. And number 8, control what you can control and release the rest. Segovia is famous. Andre Segovia, the great classical guitarist, he has quite the reputation for if somebody was rustling a piece of paper or something or walked in a little bit late, he would stare them down in the audience. He would sit there on the stage and stare them down. And what a jerk, right? Because that's not in his control. He can't control, he's wanting to control the situation, and now he's doing it by fear tactics. But ideally, then he would just focus on his game and let people do what they're going to do, because they're going to do what you're going to do. Somebody's going to be walking in and out. There's going to be something will fall off of a shelf. Somebody will, there'll be a car that drives past and starts reversing and beeping or something. Things will happen that are out of your control. Don't worry about those things. But control what you can control. If you need it to be warm when you perform, if you don't perform well in the cold, then deal with that beforehand. And then once it comes time, it's out of your hands at that point, and then you just focus on what you're focusing on. If you can have a great chair, wonderful. If you can't, deal with it. So put any kind of controls in that you can and that you want to beforehand, but then completely release it when it comes time to perform, and then just go out there and be in the moment with your music, because there's nothing you can do at that point anyway, so why get bent out of shape about it? So these are the 8. I'm going to go through them really quickly again. Number 1, every sound on the stage is part of the performance, so be intentional with your sounds. Number 2, tune quickly and quietly, and preferably beforehand. Number 3, don't fumble. Plan your logistics. Number 4, be friendly and know that people genuinely want you to succeed. And that also leads into keep a poker face about your mistakes. Don't publicize your mistakes. Number 5, plan your talking instead of babbling. Number 6, plan your talking instead of babbling. You don't have to go exactly by the plan, but just do the prep work first. And then number 7, smile and acknowledge people when they clap you and say nice things. And number 8, control what you can control and release the rest. So those are a few things you can do to make your performances more successful and preserve your confidence in them. Hope you've enjoyed it. Have a good one. Please subscribe to this channel. Then have a good one. Bye.